ECAT's production of OA Sports are provided by RevT, we simplify technology for better, Easton Lions Club, Morris Insurance, Doug King Builders Incorporated. ECAT would like to thank all the sponsors for the support of producing OA Sports.
Broadcasting live from the blustery corner of Park Street in Sheridan, where the Black Knights of Stoughton have arrived for a Route 138 Rumble. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Rivero, back with play-by-play for this afternoon's neighborhood rivalry between Stoughton and your Oliver Ames Tigers. First pitch is going to start here in just a moment. This game is going to commence, but in the meantime, I want to thank you for joining us today on Easton Community Access Television, whether you're watching us on the Education Channel, whether you're watching us on YouTube, tape delay, live, whenever and wherever you're watching, and whatever device you're watching, we're glad to have you join us for this afternoon's contest between the Black Knights and the Tigers. The Tigers come in this afternoon with a 4-8 record. They had quite a week last week, a roller coaster of emotions, if you will. They dropped their first game of the week on Monday against Sharon, a real heartbreaker. A.J. Baroncelli and Alex Sade combined to fan 9 over 6 innings of work, but OA only mustered up 5 hits and were shut out in the loss against the 2-win team from Sharon. Wednesday came around, however, playing the division leader North Attleboro Rocketeers, and Oliver Ames absolutely demolished them in dramatic fashion, 10-6. Started with 4 runs in the first inning and kept the gas on throughout, even when North Attleboro tried to come back. Well, first pitch is upon us, and the first pitch is a ball. A.J. Baroncelli has drawn the start today for the Tigers, and he is pitching against the leadoff hitter, Gavin Alexson of Stoughton. 2 balls, no strikes. I'll give you the starting lineups here in just a moment. Stoughton is trotting out a very young lineup today. In fact, they have only 1 senior on the team, and he's their starting pitcher. Baroncelli has not found the zone yet and is behind in the count 3-0 to Alexson. So Oliver Ames won their game on Wednesday against North Attleboro as A.J. finds the zone, 3-1. However, then on Friday, they were away on the road at Milford, and once again the bats were quiet, and they dropped that contest. Full count now for Baroncelli. Here's the pitch. Strike 3 as he watches it go by, and that will be out number 1. Great pitch there, great placement by Baroncelli as he gets that bottom corner of the zone. And Stoughton has 1 out. Center fielder Pat McLaughlin is up next. He is a sophomore. And again, only 1 senior on the entire team for the Black Knights. Strike 1 as Baroncelli seems to be zeroing in. 0-1, 1 out. Swing and a miss. Strike 2 for McLaughlin. Baroncelli back to pitch quickly. Strike 3 called once again, and that's going to be the second straight strikeout for Oliver Ames. 2 away with Drew Geeney. Up next, the second baseman for Stoughton. Starting lineups are brought to you by RevT, audiovisual technology simplified for better. To learn more, visit rev-t.com. As Baroncelli gets another strike. Geeney, the number 3 hitter, drops into the zone for a strike, and Baroncelli cannot miss the zone right now. 0-2. Here's a pitch. Outside for a ball. Continuing on with the starting lineup, the cleanup hitter, Mason Lessa. Number 5 hitter, Jake McSweeney. Number 6, Andrew Better. Number 7, Josh Haisiano. Number 8, Kyle Bunker. And at the bottom of the order, Jasmel Vasquez. Count remains 1-2. Baroncelli with 2 quick punch-outs here, looking for the third to strike out the side. Here it comes. Chopper down the third baseline, handled and thrown to first, and it will be in time for out number 3. 3 up, 3 down for Stoughton, and Oliver Ames will be back up here in a moment, or will be up for the first time in the contest. Score is 0-0. Starting lineups for Oliver Ames this afternoon. First up, leading off, will be the center fielder, the senior, the captain, Harrison Fitzpatrick. In the number 2 spot, shortstop, Tommy Regan. Batting number 3, first baseman, Henry Burr. Batting cleanup this afternoon, the designated hitter, senior Thomas Curzoli. Batting 5, right fielder, Colin Costello. Number 6, the catcher, Drew Hall. In the 7th spot, the pitcher, A.J. Baroncelli. Batting 8th, the catcher, Evan Zamilo. And then at the bottom of the order, number 24, the second baseman, Cade Fowler. And once again, your starting lineups brought to you by RevT, audio-video technology simplified for better. It's a busy day for Oliver Ames athletics today, despite the impending weather. It seems like there's going to be some rain. Already been rain this morning. There'll be rain this evening, and we're hoping that it'll hold out this afternoon so that we can get this one in. But there's a lot of other matches taking place for Oliver Ames this afternoon. JV boys are playing against Stoughton, also a 3:45 start. JV girls softball is playing at Stoughton this afternoon, had a 3:45 start. Varsity boys tennis and varsity girls tennis are both playing against Stoughton, 3:45 starts there. Varsity girls softball is playing at Stoughton. They'll be starting in just a few moments. 4:15, JV girls lacrosse is playing Foxborough. 4:15, varsity boys lacrosse will be playing at Foxborough. 5:45 starts for varsity girls lacrosse, and for JV boys lacrosse, both will be playing Foxborough. So once again, a very active afternoon for Oliver Ames athletics. So just mentioned, there was a bit of rain overnight and into the early morning. And temperature right now about 61 degrees. It feels much cooler because of the overcast skies. And the crowd reflects the weather this afternoon. There's not many people that are here, but those who are here are rooting for an Oliver Ames victory. Black Knights of Stoughton have won 3 games this year, but have not won a Hawk matchup, looking for their first win here, and the Tigers looking to deny them this afternoon. Fitzpatrick steps up as we begin the bottom of the first. Andrew Better, the team's lone senior, is the pitcher, and he does the great majority of the pitching for Stoughton. He had 12 appearances last year, pitched over 30 innings. 0-1 to Fitzpatrick. Pops up high into shallow left field, where the shortstop ranges over and makes the catch for out number 1. Fitzpatrick is down, and that brings up Tommy Regan as the number 2 hitter. Fitzpatrick had quite a game last Wednesday. You'll remember that he led off with a triple and put together quite an impressive stat line on Wednesday, but did fly out to start the game here this afternoon. As Regan steps in against Better, pitch well over his head for ball 1. Stoughton has not won a conference game. They are 0-9 so far in the Hawk this year. Low for a ball, 2-0. They've given up a league-leading 79 runs so far this season. Actually have had the mercy rule called against them thus far 4 times in 13 games. So possibly a good day for Oliver Ames to be able to get those bats warmed up again. 2-1 is the count. 1 out. Tommy Regan at the plate. Called time, took a few cuts, and steps back in. The pitch from Better. Well outside for a ball, 3-1. Stoughton is a hungry ball club, and although they have won 3 this year, they have won one of their games against Brockton at Campanelli Stadium just a few days ago. And that ball will fall foul. Full count as Regan makes his way back to the box. Great contact there, but just curling foul and out of play. And so Stoughton went into the big stadium there at Campanelli, I believe it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but I believe it was last week, and won the away game of a home and home against Brockton. So they have a young core. They're trying to gel together. Contact to the shortstop as he runs down the line. Regan will leg it out for a base hit, and that ball will go beyond the first baseman, Haiciano, and he'll take second base. So a single for Reagan and a throwing error will cause Reagan to move to second base. That gives us a runner on second, 1 out, and Henry Burr, the sophomore, stepping in for his first appearance of the day. Burr's been on a little bit of an offensive tear the last few weeks and has played his way into the starting lineup. Here's the pitch. Well outside for a ball as the catcher Vasquez jumps up to grab it. 1 ball, no strikes. Again, Reagan on second. Oliver Ames looking to get ahead early here. Here's a pitch. Again, outside for a ball. A little bit of a mist falling right now here at Frothingham. There was some thought this afternoon about possibly delaying this game. However, the threat of rain all week, they're trying to play it out. Fouled out. 2-1 is the count. Two and one out. Runner on second for the Tigers here early in the first. And the pitch in the dirt. Ball 3. Now, Oliver Ames has really a very full calendar over the next few weeks, and obviously we're running out of days to be able to play some of these games, and so maybe even not optimal conditions this afternoon, but they're going to try to get this one in. Swing right through. Full count now for Henry Burke. Again, the sophomore, the youngest starter, but has played his way into the starting lineup with a good bat. Burr calls time right before Better makes the pitch. Seems a little frustrated there by the timeout call, but he'll gather himself as Henry steps back in. Getting runner on second, 1 out, full count. Here's a throw. Fouled off once again to the exact same spot. Watch out, Eric. Ducks just in time from the camera position. Count remains full. Burr staying alive here in this sequence. Better looks at the runner and deals. Outside for ball 4, and that will be a walk for Henry Burke. So the DH, Tommy Curzoli, stepping up now. Runners on first and second to Curzoli. Again, only 1 out. There's a force at first, second, and third now with that walk. Stoughton certainly will be looking for a double play as that first pitch is fouled off and beyond the glove of Haiciano, who was trying to make the catch in foul territory. Now, Oliver Ames and Stoughton play twice a year. They are both in the Davenport division of the Hockomock League. And over the last couple of years, it's been very much lopsided in Oliver Ames' favor. They've won 3 of the last 4 games by a combined score of 35-13. Ball misses the zone again. 1-1 to Curzoli. Well inside for a ball. 2-1 as that ball narrowly misses the knuckles of Curzoli. High, ball 3. Now, as much as this has been somewhat of a lopsided rivalry the last couple years with our neighbor to the north, Stoughton was able to steal a home victory last year against the Tigers. Also high, ball 4, and Better will load the bases with his second walk of the inning. Oliver Ames now knocking at the door. Bases are loaded, 1 out, and Costello is now at bat, playing right field this afternoon. Looking to maybe add an RBI or 2 to his stat line. Low once again for a ball. Better having trouble finding the zone here early. Again, bases loaded, 1 out. Strike to the corner, 1-1. Good opportunity for the Tigers to get ahead early. Of course, they jumped out against North Attleboro last Wednesday. Here's a pitch. Popped up and foul. Well out of play. Costello down in the count, 1-2. Here's a pitch. 2-2 as Costello takes. Again, bases loaded. OA looking to hang something on the board here. Here's a pitch. Struck out as he watched that go by. That was low, but got the strike call. And Costello sits down for out number 2. Now, Drew Hall steps in with bases loaded. Once again, 2 outs, and Drew Hall has been a one-man offensive machine for Oliver Ames this year. He has had the hot bat for most of the season, and he's certainly who you'd want to have up in this situation with bases loaded. Again, popped up and out of play. Drew taking a big cut there. Bottom of the first, bases loaded, 2 outs. Oliver Ames has bases loaded. Pitch from Better to Hall. That's going to be a wild pitch, and that will score a run as the runners advance. Burr will stop at third. Curzoli will stop at second. Oliver Ames now up by 1 on the wild pitch. Your Tigers are up by 1 as they score first in this afternoon's contest. So 1-1 count. Again, 2 outs. 2 runners in scoring position. A mighty, mighty cut there from Drew Hall, who misses. 1-2 is your count. Drew looking to bring both of those runners home on that swing, but just missed. Fouled off once again to stay alive. Again, Oliver Ames has had their way with Stoughton for the last several years, almost scoring at will. And that's really what Oliver Ames needs today to be able to get those bats hot again. Pop up high, and the catcher is trying to make the catch and just misses. Again, Drew is able to stay alive with a 1-2 count. Difficult catch to make there against the gray skies, and the catcher has to throw off his mask, try to find the ball and bring it in. Tough play there for Vasquez. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs as Drew thinks about it a little bit. It's hanging tough. Here at this at bat, fouled off a few. Runners in scoring position. Here's the pitch. Outside for a ball, 2-2. Here's the throw. Strong hit to center field, and will it be caught? And it will be for out number 3. Great contact there by Hall, but unfortunately right in the direction of the center fielder, McLaughlin. Well, the score is 1-0. Oliver Ames did get to score there in the bottom of the first, and we'll be back in a moment here on ECAT. All right, it's a start. That's a start.
Everyone else ran. Let's see what everyone else ran. Run. Actually, run right now. Run. Yo, Rob. No, run. Aye. See what I got to out. Play first. Hey, you can't get it until you run. It's a game line. Everyone else ran, but you. Everyone else ran, but you. Check. I was there too. Oh, yeah, Jack was in. I was running. No, I did.
Regretting my clothing choice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're sitting up there. That's tough.
What up, baby? Let's go, baby!
Stoughton trots out Lessa, McSweeney, and Better here to start the second inning. Oliver Ames up by 1. The Black Knights went down 1-2-3 in the top of the first, and A.J. Baroncelli looking to mow them down just as quickly here in the second. Swing and a miss as Mason Lessa, the cleanup hitter, is in a 1-1 count. Hit to right field where it will be caught by Costello for out number 1. Fly out for Lessa, and that brings up the designated hitter, Jake McSweeney. Again, the Black Knights have only returned 4 starters from last year. Actually, I take that back, not 4 starters, 4 players from last year. And so they're trying to build a new core. And with that comes some growing pains. 0-1, the count. AJ pitching very quickly. No pitch count, or no pitch clock, rather, needed here this afternoon. Here's a pitch. Chopper, which is going to be taken by Zamilo. Throw to first for out number 2. The pitcher, Better, now comes up, making his own case as he steps in. 2 outs very quickly for Stoughton. And again, AJ keeping his foot on the gas. Strike call, 0-1. Coach Jasmine, Rich Jasmine for Stoughton, it's his first year with the ball club, although he has over 40 years of experience coaching high school baseball. And he's looking to rebuild this team basically from scratch. Seems like a fine mist coming down right now. Strike two in the corner of the zone. 1 ball and 2 strikes. AJ looking for his 3rd strikeout of the afternoon. Unfortunately, that hit the umpire right in the hand. 2 balls and 2 strikes. That is definitely a ball if you hit the umpire. You're not going to, actually, I don't think that's a rule, but all things considered, you don't want that. You don't want that for the umpire, certainly. But we have 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. AJ looking for his 3rd punch out. Strike 3 is the call, and he mows him down again. Another 1-2-3 inning for Stoughton as A.J. Baroncelli registers his 3rd strikeout of 6 batters. Well, we're midway through the 2nd inning, and the score remains Oliver Ames 1 and the Black Knights of Stoughton 0. Well, it's time for our out-of-town scoreboard, and the out-of-town scoreboard is brought to you by the Easton Lions Club. Where there's a need, there's a lion. To learn more about being a lion, visit eastonlions.com. Well, the last Hockomock League action on the baseball diamond was last Friday. There were 3 games with Hockomock League teams. First of all, there was a Foxborough win, 5-2 against Sharon. Foxborough used some early offense to claim a slim lead and tacked on 3 runs in the final 2 innings to get a hard-fought win over a tough Sharon squad. Taunton beat Mansfield 11-1, and that was a 5-inning mercy rule game. After being shut out for the first time since 2019 on Wednesday, Taunton's offense roared back to life with 12 hits for 11 runs in a big win over visiting Mansfield. And that 3rd and final game that took place in the Hawk was our Oliver Ames Tigers as they were defeated by Milford 3-1. Milford senior Ian Carter enjoyed a successful first league start of the season, tossing 5 shutout innings to help the Hawks take down the visiting Oliver Ames Tigers. Had an opportunity to talk to Coach Abar before the game, not just about the Milford game on Friday, but just a little bit about the approach that they've had this season over the last several weeks. And I have noticed in the home games, but also talking with him about the away games, of which I'm not present and don't always get the statistics for. Oliver Ames has been pulling a lot of the ace pitchers for these squads that they're playing against. You know, if you're in the major leagues, you have a 3-game, sometimes a 4-game series, and you get to see a good part of the rotation of the team you are facing. That's just not the case in high school when you are seeing a team maybe once, twice in a season. We're not looking at a series of any kind, and you don't know who you're going to draw. In this case, they've had some tough draws, and Friday, actually Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that was the case in all of them, although they did well against the ace for North Attleboro on Wednesday. Well, Andrew Baroncelli comes up, the pitcher, as the rain starts to fall a little bit more steadily out here. Now, Massachusetts high school rules do say that at least 5 innings have to be played for this to be an official game, and so we're going to try to at least get 5 in this afternoon. Right now, it is steady but still light. Swung right through it for a miss, 1-1. In Oliver Ames, up by 1. We're at the bottom of the 2nd. We've seen 6 batters come up and 6 batters go down for Stoughton thus far, and Oliver Ames is looking to add to that lead. 2 balls, no strikes is the count. Andrew Better, the pitcher for Stoughton. 3 balls and no strikes, actually. Or now it's 3 balls and no strikes. That's all right. It's all good. Here's the pitch. And a 4-pitch walk for Better puts Baroncelli on first. That leadoff walk brings Evan Zamilo to the dish. He's the 8th hitter for the day. That is the 3rd walk for Andrew Better as that rain is starting to get a little bit more steady. Substitute runner steps in for Baroncelli, and that'll be Jack Giovanello. Jack Giovanello, the courtesy runner for AJ on first base. Again, Zamilo at the plate. Again, outside for a ball. And Better is having difficulty finding the zone. 3 walks thus far. Another ball. 2 balls and no strikes. And certainly you'd have to feel for either pitcher this afternoon as the rain comes down. Getting that grip on the ball is going to get more and more difficult as the game continues. That one falls in the zone, 2-1. A difficult day to play a ball game between the cool air and the swing and a miss, but the runner goes towards second, and he is going to be safe at second base. Giovanello steals the base, and it's a 2-2 count to Zamilo. So a runner in scoring position, no outs. Here's the pitch. Outside, and he loses the ball. It's actually right there in the batter's box, but the catcher lost it, allowing Giovanello to move to third base as that rain continues to fall and is getting stronger. Now watch the umpires here to see if they're going to make a call as far as if we're going to take time here out. And second base umpire was making a gesture like perhaps maybe they were going to have a stoppage of play, but that does not seem to be the case. So the full count, 3-2, runner on third, no outs. Here's the pitch. Chopper to the third baseman. It's going to be thrown to first, which will be in time. And the run scores as well, so you have a single as well as the runner waiting, Giovanello. However, it does seem that Zamilo tripped, maybe fell as he was crossing first base, and Coach Abar is going to take a look at him as he's going to hobble that off a little bit. A very slow roller towards third base. The throw was bobbled when it was received by Haiciano, the first baseman, and as soon as the third baseman threw it to first, Giovanello took off towards home, so that will score another run. The score is 2-0. Zamilo will be at first. Is he going to remain at first? He will remain at first, and he will remain in the game with that base hit. Second hit for Oliver Ames thus far in the game. 2-0. Runner on first, no outs, and Fowler, who represents the bottom of the order, steps in. Again, rain continues to fall here at Frothingham. In there for a strike, 0-1. Here's a pitch as the runner goes. Throw to second is not in time as he slides and is almost able to get back up by the time that the ball gets there. And it seems like so far Oliver Ames is going to be very active on the base paths this afternoon. Runner in scoring position, no outs. A seeing eye single down the first base line, and actually that may turn into a double. Well, runner goes from third to home, and he will be in time for another Oliver Ames run. And as the throw is made towards home to attempt to catch the runner, then Fowler moves to second. So he turns a single into a double. Great hit there by Fowler. Right down the seam, right down the third base line. Remained fair. Just what you were looking for. 3-0 Oliver Ames here in the bottom of the second, and we're back to the top of the order with Harrison Fitzpatrick. Fowler on second. There still remains no outs on the board. Here's the pitch from Better. Low for a ball. Better looks at the runner, looks again, and the pitch. High and very, very deep, but foul over to the batting cages. That was fair. That was very likely a triple, but curling foul and out of play. 1-1. Again, remains no outs. Oliver Ames up by 3 here early, bottom of the second. Here's the pitch. Outside for a ball. 2 balls, 1 strikes. And Vasquez, the catcher, comes to make a mound visit to Andrew Better. Again, tough afternoon to be pitching when you think about the weather, you think about how slick that ball has to be. It is certainly not something that would be easy. Get 2 balls, 1 strike. Runner on second, no outs. 3-0 Tigers. Fouled off about 7 or 8 feet above our position here behind home plate. 2-2. Fitzpatrick, the captain. Just a little bit high. Good take there from Fitzpatrick. 3-2. Fitzpatrick's got a great bat, but he's played some exceptional defense in center field this year. Very high. Question is, will it be caught by the second baseman? And it is for out number 1. Very, very high pop fly, but it is the first out of the inning. Tommy Regan, 1 for 1 on the afternoon, is back at the bat here in the second inning. Oliver Ames up 3-0. Only 2 hits thus far, however, 3 walks has been part of what's been getting some of those runners on base. Well inside for a ball. 1-0. 1 out. Here's pitch. Hit to right field. Again, will just go out of play and beyond Mason Lessa, who's trying to track that one down. Regan looking to bring that runner home from second. Again, Oliver Ames has been very active on the base paths thus far. Rain seeming to be tapering off just a little bit here. Poked to the second baseman, or shortstop rather, who will make the play for out number 2. That does move the runner to third. That means we have Henry Burr up to bat. The lefty has had some good at-bats the last couple of weeks. Looking to add another RBI. Strike 1, just hitting the outside of the plate. Here's the pitch. Popped up, center field. The left fielder comes over and makes the catch for out number 3. Well, Oliver Ames was able to add 2 more to their tally. They're up 3-0. We'll be back in a moment for the third here on ECAT. So far, it's been all Oliver Ames as they are up 3-0. We are at the top of the third. It's been 2 innings of 3-up, 3-down baseball for Oliver Ames, and looking for more of the same as A.J. Baroncelli has been red hot here this afternoon. 3 strikeouts out of 6 batters. And we have the 7, 8, 9 hitters coming up here to start the top of the third. Strike, great movement there on that pitch as it just drops to the bottom of the zone. Josh Haisiano, his first at bat. He's a sophomore. Swings right through that for strike 2. Again, all away so far. 1 run in the first, 2 runs in the second. And Stoughton still looking for their first hit. Swing and a miss for strike 3. And that is Baroncelli's 4th strikeout in 3 innings. Number 8 hitter, Kyle Bunker, at bat. The 8 and 9 hitters are both freshmen. Inside, just almost hit the uniform there. Very close, but that's a ball. Again, pretty unusual for freshmen to be on the varsity squad. In fact, last game on Wednesday, last home game, I should say, was the very first time we had seen that here at Frothingham this year. And Stoughton has 2 freshmen who they are starting this afternoon. And again, a very young squad trying to put together a core with their new coach, Rich Jasmine. Strike call, 1-1. Again, AJ quick on the draw this afternoon. Not giving Stoughton a lot of time to think about what's coming. 2 balls and 1 strike. Here's a pitch. Tag that one, foul and out of play. 2-2, 1 out. This may be the longest at bat Stoughton has had thus far in the game. Time is called as he steps out and quickly steps back in. Here's the pitch. Fouled off again. He's able to put a little bit of heat on those, but again, both fouled. Your count is still 2-2, 1 out. OA up by 3. Here it's the top of the third. Here's your pitch. Outside, did not chase. And Bunker fought back to a full count. Strike 3 called once again. 3 strikeouts in a row for Baroncelli, his 5th on the afternoon, and that is out number 2. And as we get to the bottom of the order, Jasmel Vasquez, the catcher, steps up. And so far, Stoughton hasn't had an answer. Swing through for strike 1. AJ keeping him guessing, and they're really not making much contact. Once again, strike 2. And I know this is a young team, but at the same time, AJ's putting on a clinic this afternoon thus far in 3 innings. Ball 1. And Baroncelli looking for his 4th punch out in a row. Here's the pitch. Just a little bit outside for a ball. 2-2. Vasquez steps right back in. AJ's going to think about it, but again, this weather's not easy to pitch in. Here's the pitch. Little bit low. And once again, we're looking at a full count. 2 outs. Oliver Ames up by 3. Bases are empty. Strike three as it goes by 3 straight strikeouts in that inning, 4 in a row. Baroncelli with 6 strikeouts in 3 innings. This is fun to watch, and so far, midway through the 3rd inning, Oliver Ames is up by 3. Well, we have some community events for you this afternoon, and our community events are brought to you by Morse Insurance. Morse specializes in business insurance, home insurance, car insurance, and more throughout southeastern Massachusetts and the south coast of Mass. It's Morse, of course. There is a PACE open house coming up on Wednesday, May 7th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Oliver Ames High School Auditorium. Years of high inflation, increasing costs will force Easton voters to make a difficult budget choice this spring. I don't know if you've heard about that, but I'm guessing you probably have, all things considered. Promoting a Sustainable Easton is a 19-member citizen-led committee formed by town meeting, made up of town and school leaders, resident volunteers, and educators. PACE was tasked with reviewing Easton's budget position, making recommendations to voters on solutions to promote sustainable services. Their work identified that the coming fiscal year has a budget gap that can be solved in 2 ways, either by balancing it with deep cuts to jobs and services and education, public safety and community programs, and use of reserves, or balanced with an override tax increase. So there is a PACE open house where you can learn more about these 2 options. And again, that will be Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the OA High School Auditorium. Of course, going along with that, annual town meeting will be coming up on Monday, May 19th at 7 p.m., again at the Oliver Ames High School Auditorium. To learn more about the town meeting, including the warrant, the fiscal year 2026 budget proposal, and the override information page, including a tax calculator, you can find it all at easton.ma.us. Well, we are continuing to broadcast here from rain-soaked Frothingham Park, where Oliver Ames may not enjoy the weather, but they're enjoying what's taking place right now as they are up by 3 and in the bottom of the 3rd looking to add a few more to their tally. Oliver Ames has thus far had 3 hits and 3 walks in 2 innings. And Tommy Crizzoli, the designated hitter, now steps up after walking in the 1st inning, and he's going to hit a roller to the shortstop, who is going to throw, and it's going to roll past the shortstop for an error, the 2nd error for Stoughton. And Crizzoli will get a base hit, a single, and then be allowed to advance to second base as, once again, Haiciano not able to reel that throw from short in. Colin Costello will be next at bat, and he struck out in the 1st inning, but now has a runner on 2nd and no outs. Andrew Better pitches. Big cut from Costello, strike 1. Again, Oliver Ames having scored 1 in the 2nd, 1 in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd, and that ball was almost passed by, but Vasquez able to reel it in, spins around to make sure that Crizzoli does not take 3rd. Crizzoli is taking a lead, however. Here's the pitch. Outside, 2-1. That'll be a base hit right down the center of the field, and he's running 3rd, coming towards home, and that will be another Oliver Ames run. Base hit for Costello and an RBI makes this game 4-0. So Drew Hall now at bat, flew out in the 1st. He's a runner on 1st, and there are no outs. Well outside for a ball as Vasquez heads over to catch that one. Costello on 1st, no outs. Low once again. Again, Andrew Better, the pitcher for Stoughton, has walked 3 thus far, given up 4 hits in 3 innings. Just nipping the edge of the zone. Strike call, two balls and one strike. In OA up by 4. Swung through a strike, maybe even a foul tip there, but either way, we're looking at a 2-2 count. Full count, 3-2. And this rain just does not stop. It kind of goes back and forth between getting a little bit heavier and lighter, but it just has not stopped, probably for about 30 minutes or so. Runner goes. That'll be a base hit. So Drew Hall gets his first hit of the afternoon, and that puts Costello on second, Hall on first, with A.J. Baroncelli up to bat. Again, with a very young Stoughton team, I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you, if they have anyone in a bullpen that could actually come in and relieve Andrew Better. There's certainly no activity over on the bullpen side for Stoughton right now, and it seems like he's just going to have to make his own way right now. Another strong hit, that goes to third base, and they're looking to turn 2. They may have gotten the first one, but a wild throw goes past first base. I'm not sure that the second baseman actually made the tag. I guess they will say that he did. So the final result there will be another run scores for Oliver Ames and a base hit for Baroncelli, which then again, because of another wild throw, another error, brings him to second base. So Zamilo up to bat, 1 for 1. Is a runner on second, and A.J. Baroncelli led off and almost made it halfway towards third base before going back. Be interesting to watch him here. That's going to be a gapper, and that will be at least a double as it will score 1. There goes Zamilo, and watch him go. He's going past second, going towards third. A stand-up triple for Evan Zamilo. Scores another. You're looking at a 6-0 ball game here for Oliver Ames, as they've hung up 3 in the third. 1 run in the first, 2 runs in the second, 3 runs in the third. I think we could see how this progression's going. But we have a runner on third and 1 out as Cade Fowler steps up. He had a double in the last inning. 7 hits so far for Oliver Ames in these 3 innings. Fouled off. Zamilo very active there on the base paths on third. Wouldn't necessarily say he's going to try to steal home here, but he's going to try to get every foot that he can. Oh. Pop up, and Zamilo's going to look for the tag up. There's the out number 2, but Zamilo goes, and he will be in time for another run. So Fowler flies out, however, does register the RBI as Zamilo easily makes it home from third, and Oliver Ames is up by 7 here in the bottom of the third. Can you believe it? Harrison Fitzpatrick now represents the top of the order. 2 outs. The bases have now been cleared. Fitzpatrick actually shows bunt, pulls back, and that's strike 1. Outside, ball 1 is at just as below his foot. Well, if you're Oliver Ames and you've had some trouble with the bats this year, this is exactly the game that you're looking for. A type of game where you're able to really swing away and work the base paths and get some stolen bases and get some good hitting. And this is exactly what the doctor ordered if you're Oliver Ames. 2-2 to Fitzpatrick. Again, you just feel like Oliver Ames just needs to build a little confidence that this has been in them all year and it's been seen at different times. And he got all of that as he ripped the cover off the ball. Will it stay fair? It will not. I'll tell you, that was the strongest hit of the ball we've seen this afternoon, and we've seen some pretty strong hits. However, it just kept tailing and went into foul territory. 2-2 with 2 outs for Fitzpatrick. Here's a pitch. Strike 3, and that will end the inning. However, Oliver Ames did score 4, and they are up 7-0. We'll be back for the top of the 4th in a moment here on ECAT. Stoughton still looking for their first hit as we enter the top of the 4th. Oliver Ames up big, 7-0. You may not like the weather report, but you got to like what the scoreboard says right now. Oliver Ames up by 7, and A.J. Baroncelli very much in control on the hill. So we're back to the top of the order. Gavin Alexson takes his second turn at the plate. He struck out to lead off the game. Fouled off, over to Park Street. Strike 1. A.J. has struck out 6 in 3 innings and has struck out the last 4 batters in a row. Strike 2 as Alexson watches that sail by. 0-2. Baroncelli keeping his foot on the gas. Here's the pitch. Alexson just gets enough of it to stay alive. The count is still 0-2. Again, all OA so far in this game, up by 7. Baroncelli in control. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss for his 5th strikeout in a row as Alexson takes a seat. That is 1 out. And the center fielder, Pat McLaughlin, comes up next. The only disappointment thus far this afternoon is just that the weather's probably kept some of the fans away because those who aren't able to be here because of the weather are missing out. I'm glad you're watching here on ECAT. It's the best way to watch today. Strike 1 call. McLaughlin also struck out in the first. He's a sophomore. Here's a pitch. Swung through for another strike. McLaughlin very quickly down 0-2, and here's the next pitch. Fouled off as he stays alive. Right off the side of the shed. We're still looking at an 0-2 count. 1 out. Tigers up 7. In the dirt, 1-2. Baroncelli has just been all over the zone. He's been painting the corners. He has had movement on his pitches, and so far, Stoughton just does not have the answer for him. As he's registered 7 strikeouts, no walks. It's been 10 hitters up and 10 hitters down thus far. And the 11th hitter of the game for Stoughton, number 11, receives the next pitch. Just outside, 2-2. Again, the steady rain continues here at Worcester Field. Popped up, 2-2, as that ball easily falls in foul territory. Here's a pitch. In the dirt, that's actually ball 4, and that will be the first runner aboard for Stoughton, as Baroncelli has his first walk of the afternoon. Drew Gainey, a junior, 0 for 1, grounded out in the first inning, but there is a runner aboard for Stoughton. AJ working with his first runner aboard this ball game. Outside for a 1-0 count. Again, in some ways, you look at Stoughton, and they are trying to start something with a new coach, a very, very young squad. 1-1. Two and 1 is the count. But yet, when you consider the fact that in a Hockomock League, nothing is ever a given. And so if you're Oliver Ames, having them up by 7 sure is great to see. 3-1, as Baroncelli, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, had been all over the zone, just really, really locked in. And last few have just been outside. Speaking of that, that will be another walk for Baroncelli, as there are 2 aboard and 1 out. And some of this you have to wonder if you chalk up to the fact that that ball is just so slick right now that making sure you're getting your pitches exactly where you want them to be is a very difficult thing. And these umpires are trying to make sure that this game at least goes 5 innings so that this can be registered in the books. In fact, speaking of that, Coach Abar brings out a couple dry baseballs out here, rubbing a couple in the dirt to try to make sure that they have some level of grip on them. But what AJ is trying to do right now is not easy. The cleanup hitter, Mason Lessa, is up. He flew out in the second, but he does have a runner in scoring position. Runners on first and second. Strike call. Again, Stoughton not with a hit yet so far in this game, but they do have 2 runners aboard on walks. 1-1 count. And really, the Black Knights just do not have an answer for A.J. Baroncelli thus far this afternoon. That's going to be right down the first base line for out number 2. Just remained fair. Does advance the runners, so now there are 2 runners in scoring position. However, there are 2 outs as the designated hitter Jake McSweeney is aboard. McSweeney at the dish. Runners on second and third with 2 outs. Curveball is outside. Oliver Ames up by 7, but not wanting to take anything for granted here. Nice swing and a miss there. Made him chase. 1-1. Again, just saying, taking nothing for granted a few moments ago, the idea that Sharon came in here with only 2 wins on the year, but yet 1 on Monday. That's fouled off. 1-2. So when you play in the Hockomock League, you just cannot take any game for granted. Not necessarily any given Sunday, that's the NFL, but the idea is anyone can win anytime when you're playing Hockomock League baseball. 1-2. Here's a pitch. Fouled off once again as McSweeney stays alive. 2 outs. Runners on second and third. Rain's starting to pick up here. Another bouncer, foul and out of play. And yeah, that rain is definitely picking up. And Coach Abar right now is doing his best to try to towel off some of these baseballs, rub them in the dirt, do whatever he can to make sure that Baroncelli can get a good grip on the ball. Here's the pitch. Outside. A 2-2 count here to McSweeney. Again, he grounded out in the second inning. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out for his 8th strikeout of the afternoon. And although Stoughton had an opportunity with 2 runners in scoring position, they were not able to convert. So as the side is retired, Oliver Ames prepares for the bottom of the 4th, and they remain up by 7-0 over the Black Knights of Stoughton. Well, once again, we do have some community events that we want to make you aware of. We were just talking about town meeting in the last half inning, but we do want to remind you there are other elections as well that you can participate in, including a special primary election coming up on Tuesday, May 13th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Polling places are located at Oliver Ames High School, and voting for the 3rd Bristol District State Representative. And if you are part of Precinct 4A, 5, or 6, that's you. And that is on May the 13th. Again, annual town meeting coming up on Monday, May 19th at 7 p.m. And then there will be another election on Tuesday, June 10th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. 2 different elections will be taking place. One will be a special state election once those primaries are done for that 3rd Bristol County seat, but then also an election for the override. So information about that, including your precinct. If you have questions about what precinct you live in, you can go to easton.ma.us, and you can find all the information that you need there, including mail-in ballots and all of that good information. Easton is currently, as of May 1st, under Phase 3 water restrictions. Phase 3 water restrictions mean that even-number properties will be restricted to Mondays for watering between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. Odd-number properties will be restricted to Tuesday between 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. These restrictions are needed to comply with our water withdrawal permit and to ensure adequate supply as we add PFAS filtration at the Red Mill Road Water Treatment Plant and the rehabilitation of the Bay Road Water Storage Tank. Easton is asking residents to check and reduce the operation of their irrigation systems and to follow the prescribed day and operational hours. Residents will be notified if further restrictions are required. You can visit the Easton Water Division webpage for more information, and again, that's at easton.ma.us. Bottom 4, OA is up by 7 and looking to tack on more as Tommy Regan steps in. I have to apologize if you are part of his family. I think I've gone back and forth all season between Regan and Reagan, and I know it's Regan, so I want to offer my humblest of apologies to you if you've been watching on ECAT and you are yelling at me through your screen wondering why I can't get his name right. I do apologize to the Regan family at large. Well, Tommy Regan is up 1-1, or he's in the count 1-1 rather, as we begin the bottom of the 4th inning. He's 1 for 2 this afternoon. Is now up 2-1 in the count. Andrew Better remains on the bump for the Black Knights of Stoughton. He's walked 3 and given up 7 hits. Actually given up 8 hits on the afternoon. 3-1. That's going to be a gapper that's going to fall for a base hit, and that's going to roll to the berm. It's rolling up the berm. He goes around first, going towards second. He's going to slide. No, he doesn't need to slide. He is safe with a lead-off double. Tommy Regan now 2 for 3 on the afternoon as OA keeps their foot on the gas pedal. Runner on second, Henry Burr, comes up. He's walked and flown out this afternoon thus far. There's a runner on second and no outs. Strike called. 0-1 as that rain not just continues to fall, but also starting to blow as the wind blows inward. Strike 2 called there. That seemed a little low, but I have to wonder if the umpire's wanting to move this game along here at this point with the weather as it is and the score as it is. Comebacker to Better, who fields it and makes the throw to first base. Burr is out for out number 1. Thomas Curzoli is next up to bat, and as he digs into the box, he is 1-2 and a single in the last inning. And again, Tommy Regan is on second. Here's the pitch. Low, and a good take there for ball 1. Great hit by Tommy Regan there as it went right to the gap, right towards the berm. That's another high pop fly, but it goes towards Lessa, the right fielder, who does make the catch. However, Tommy Regan tags up and runs towards third. So Curzoli moves the runner towards third as Colin Costello now is at bat. Costello is at bat. Drew Hall is on deck. Runner on third, 2 outs. 1-0 count to Costello. Again, struck out in the first, but got a single in third. Better with the pitch. Well outside for ball 2. And again, it is a full-time job to try to keep those baseballs game ready with the weather. Here's pitch. Low once again. Costello up in the count, 3-0. 2 outs, runner on third. Oliver Ames up by 7. 4-pitch walk for Costello, which brings up Drew Hall. Well, it may bring up Drew Hall. There might be a substitution, kind of looking over here at what's taking place at the Oliver Ames dugout. He's not immediately coming up, so it makes me wonder if there's going to be a designated hitter, or rather a pinch hitter. Nope, there will not be. He was just putting on his shin guard there, so he's set to go now. 2 outs, runner on third, runners on first and third, rather. So you got runners on the corners. 7-0 Tiger lead here in the bottom of the fourth. Drew had a single in the last inning, flew out in the first. Very high for a ball. So far, Andrew Better in 4 innings of work has given up 9 hits and has walked 3. Ball 2. And again, Better struggling to find the strike zone. Here's pitch. Again, inside about eye level. Once again, we're looking at a 3-0 count. Drew looks over at Coach Abar. Here's a pitch. Ball 4, and that loads the bases. As I believe that is the 5th walk. I may have been miscounted just a moment ago. I believe that's 5 walks for Better. And again, there's no activity in the bullpen for Stoughton, and I believe that there really is no reserve for him at this point. Courtesy runner comes in for Drew Hall. Bases loaded, 2 outs to Baroncelli. Baroncelli has a single and a walk to his credit thus far this afternoon. Looking to add a few RBIs as well. Another ball, that's about 8 or 9 straight pitches without a strike for Better. Tough stretch for him here. Here's a pitch. Ball to third, and the third baseman is going to kind of nonchalantly go over to third base for the force out and gets there just in time for out number 3. Well, the first inning that Oliver Ames has not scored, although they were threatening there with a bases loaded. However, the score remains 7-0 Oliver Ames. Will be back in a moment for the 5th inning of action here on ECAT.
Let's go! Yes. Go. Let's go, dude. Ryan, yell it. Oh, grab the stuff. You saw me. Johnson, go. I grabbed the stuff for AJ. Okay, go. Go! Yo, your brother didn't run, Zach. You have to do it. Zach can do it and catch up on really. Playing first base. I got it done. What's up? We're back.
What I say to you now, I say to you in all sincerity, Tigers fans, be glad you're at home watching on ECAT instead of here with us at Frothingham Park. It's a very thin crowd, but yet a very committed crowd here. And those of you who are watching, whether in person or on television, online, you got a little bit of a treat today because Oliver Ames is up by 7 here in the top of the fifth, and A.J. Baroncelli is putting on quite the clinic this afternoon as he has struck out, by my count, 7 thus far. I probably should give this another count here as my notes are starting to have water all over them. But as best as I can tell, he's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has 8 strikeouts on the afternoon. 4 innings total of work, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, no hits thus far. Strike 3, make that 9 strikeouts for A.J. Baroncelli as Andrew Better, the pitcher, takes a seat, and a tough afternoon thus far for him. Struck out twice and has given up 7 runs as the pitcher for Stoughton. Josh Haisiano comes up next. Ball 1. And again, Oliver Ames has had maybe an identity crisis is what you would want to call it thus far this year, because it's almost like you've looked at 2 different teams. The team that we saw last Wednesday that can score, that can play against anybody, and then the team that played on Monday against Sharon and had every opportunity to win but just could not convert. And today is the kind of afternoon that any ball club needs to be able to get a little bit of confidence, a little wind within their sails. 1 and 2 is the count right now to Josh Haisiano. Playing first base today. He's had a difficult day over there. Swings through, and the ball is bobbled, so the throw has to be made to first for another punch out, and that is the 3rd strikeout in a row, and that makes 10 strikeouts for Baroncelli. Kyle Bunker up next, and he is one of 2 freshmen who are starting this afternoon for Stoughton. Again, top of 5. If you're just joining us, Oliver Ames up by 7 on a rain-soaked afternoon here at Frothingham Park. And again, it would be very easy for the narrative to be this afternoon that, well, A.J. Baroncelli struck out 10. He's against a young Stoughton team that's had some trouble winning this year. That might be the easy narrative, but the fact of the matter is that he's out there battling not just the other team, but the elements as well, and he's putting on an absolute clinic. Foul tip off of Drew Hall's mask. 1 and 2. And once again, Baroncelli's looking for the second time this afternoon to strike out his 4th batter in a row. That's going to be popped up to Colin Costello, who misses. Loses it in the air, but the throw is going to be made to second base, and the runner had no idea where that ball was, and so he is going to be out for out number 3. And so that will be registered as an error for Oliver Ames, as that ball really should have been caught by Colin Costello, but there's no doubt as that rain is really starting to come down right now that he lost that in the air. However, Kyle Bunker did not register where he was in relation to that ball because there was no chance at all that he was going to make it to second base. But that does register out number 3, and so he is making some notes here as I'm trying to talk to you and also kind of figure out what's going on and trying to stay dry all at the same time. This is exciting. If you're a Tigers fan, seeing them up by 7, they're in the bottom 5. And again, you have to wonder here, at the end of the 5th inning if this game is going to be called. I guess you could technically could be called right now because Oliver Ames is up. And so we're going to see what Coach Abar is talking about with the umpires, if there's a possibility that this game could be called as complete, 7-0, 5-inning game. You kind of want to see them play it all the way through just because, again, it's good for the Tigers to get the experience. It's good for the Tigers to be able to get some swings this afternoon, and you want to see how far AJ is able to go as well. But you also understand that the weather being what it is, that there might be the possibility that they say that this is it. So kind of watching the conversation as it takes place here with Coach Abar and the home plate umpire. And they're giving every indication that they're going to continue. The pitcher, Andrew Better, is warming up for Stoughton. He's expecting at least to be able to continue this game, and it looks like that will, well, that'll be the case. And that will be the case as we start the bottom of the 5th inning, and Evan Zamilo comes up. He's 2 for 2 with a single and a triple thus far. Again, Oliver Ames up by 7, bottom 5. Here's a pitch. Strike call. I do have to wonder if the umpire's strike zone is expanding just a little bit here, again, because of the weather, because of the score. There's a possibility that might be the case, but that certainly would not be even an expanded strike zone as that's in the dirt for a ball 1-1. Big swing and miss. Zamilo is down 1-2. Again, by my count, Oliver Ames has 9 hits, 5 walks for Andrew Better. He struck out 1. Been 3 errors for Stoughton thus far. AJ Barancelli has had 5 innings of no-hit baseball thus far. Out number 1 is registered on that ground out. Now, again, I'm not an official scorer, so I have to be careful what I say. We're not, when you're talking about broadcasts, you don't like to talk about no-hitters and those type of things. But that ball that was hit at the end of the 5th inning was very catchable. Of course, it was difficult because of the weather, but I believe most scorekeepers would register that as an error. Cade Fowler, the bottom of the order, comes up for his 3rd turn at the plate. He's had a double and has flown out. 1 ball and 1 strike to Fowler. Bases are empty. Tigers remain up by 7. Grounder to the left of the third base bag. Oliver Ames scored 1 in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd, 3 in the 4th. Did not score in the 4th inning. Did I say 3 in the, well, 1 in the 1st, 2 in the 2nd, 3, 4 in the 3rd, and none in the 4th. That's what I was trying to say. Oh, boy. All right, here's the pitch. Well outside. 2-2. Base hit between the third baseman and shortstop as Fowler is aboard once again for his 2nd hit of the afternoon. That brings up the captain, Harrison Fitzpatrick, who is still looking for his 1st hit of the ball game. Here's a pitch. Now, if Oliver Ames scores 3 this inning, that will end the game. Oliver Ames goes up by 10 by the 5th inning, then the mercy rule will be applied. 1-1. Fowler takes his lead on first. Tigers have been active on the base paths this afternoon. 2-1 is the count. Here's a pitch. Foul into the bleachers, which are, well, pretty well empty right now, so no one has to scatter from that. 2-2. Get runner on first. Here's the pitch from Andrew Better. To the second baseman, who's going to try to turn two, is able to apply the force to second for one. However, Fitzpatrick is aboard on the fielder's choice. So runner remains on first. This time it's Fitzpatrick, and the count is 0-2. Or rather, there's 2 outs. To be a mound visit here. Let's see what takes place. We might be, if nothing else, switching pitchers. And it looks like that's going to be the case. And while there was no one that was warming up, he is going to switch Andrew Better with one of the other fielders. And I'm going to see if I can get a number here in just a second. We'll give you some more information about him. That's Kyle Bunker, all right? So you'll remember that Kyle Bunker is one of the 2 freshmen who are playing this afternoon, and so Bunker will be stepping in, going from third base over to pitching. Tough afternoon if you're Andrew Better. Walked 5, gave up 10 hits. It was not helped by 3 errors that also took place, so he is not chargeable for all 7 of those runs. However, he had a great deal of difficulty finding the zone this afternoon. And again, I've not watched him pitch before, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the work today that he put out there is representative of who he is as a pitcher. He's their senior. He's their anchor. It's just this is a very, very hard day to be able to pitch. And so hats off to him this afternoon. It's a tough one, and hope he's able to shake it off and be able to do well on his next start, as long as it's not, well, against Oliver Ames. But again, a difficult afternoon. But that does bring Kyle Bunker, the freshman, up to pitch this afternoon for the Black Knights, and he will be moving from third base and over. Well, Oliver Ames has been completely in control all afternoon, and once again, you might say at this point, are these guys really, is it important to them as they continue? And the answer is absolutely yes. They may be up by 7, but every at-bat for them is another opportunity to put in a little bit more work. It's another opportunity to get another hit. It's another opportunity to get on base and get some work out there. And so they may be up by 7, but at the same time, every single AB that they get up is vitally important. And I think that's represented by the fact that Coach Abar is keeping all the starters in right now to let them get a taste of some of this offense. Bunker's first pitch is a strike. Again, Kyle Bunker is your new pitcher for Stoughton. Tommy Regan at bat. He's 2 for 3 this afternoon. He's had a single and a double. Fitzpatrick on first, 2 outs. 1-1. Bunker pitches. He tags that one into left field, and it's going to fall, and it's going to be fair, and that's going to be at least a double, as here comes Fitzpatrick around, and he's going home. That will be the 8th run of the afternoon for Oliver Ames, as Regan gets his second double, and it's Oliver Ames 8 and Stoughton nothing. Regan got all of that pitch, and the only question there was whether it was going to stay fair, and it was within maybe 4 or 5 feet of the foul pole, but on the right side of it. And so that is a stand-up double for Regan, which brings up Henry Burr. That ball well over his head. He might have got plunked by that if he was about 10 feet tall. 1-0, 2 outs. Your Tigers are up by 8. Outside, ball 2. Again, Bunker comes in here in a very unenviable position. Down by 7, now down by 8, but he inherited that runner that just scored. And, of course, battling the elements as well. 2-1, 2 outs. Oliver Ames has scored once again, have scored in 4 of the 5 innings thus far in the contest. 3 balls, 1 strike. Runner on second. Here's a pitch. Another strong hit into left field. However, as the left fielder is going to make the play on it for out number 3, and it almost popped out of his glove, but he held on to make the catch and end the inning. Oliver Ames adds another run to the board. They are up 8-0. We'll be back in a moment for the 6th inning here on ECAT.
Let's go. Let's go. Where? I'm in. Thomas is going to take it. Oh! No, it's definitely 10. No. You want to pick? No. I thought it bounced out. And then I thought it bounced out. You'll make a TikTok. Yo, no, someone grab those. Yeah, we'll fall down there. There's one that went down the hill too. You're a funny guy.
Back for the top of the 6th, and Oliver Ames. It's all Oliver Ames. 8-0 here at Frothingham. And the temperature is dropping, and it's dropping fast. Not only are they battling the weather, they're also battling the cold. I was just looking, it's about 49 degrees out here right now, and I was wondering why I was shivering here at our broadcast location as Regan makes the throw to first for, well, he said that, umpire said that he was off the bag, so that will be a base hit. And that will register the official first base hit for Stoughton this afternoon as Vasquez, the freshman, gets aboard. Oliver Ames now looking to turn 2. They're up 8-0. No outs. And A.J. Baroncelli just gave up his first hit of the afternoon here in the top of the 6th. The story thus far has been all Baroncelli. 10 strikeouts, 1 hit registered on the afternoon. It's only walked 2. He's put together an excellent start this afternoon, and especially considering, again, the elements, not just the rain, but the cold as well. But yeah, it is the temperatures dropped even the last couple hours. Out of play. And as always, it goes out onto Park Street. You just wait to hear what sound. Do you hear the sound of a ball on asphalt, or do you hear the sound of metal and glass? And so it's always nice to hear the ball bouncing on the street. 2-1 and no outs. Runner on first for Stoughton. Fouled off to about the same spot. And that foul falls just about 2 feet short of a really nice Dodge Ram. So 2 balls, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss for strike 3. The 11th strikeout this afternoon for Baroncelli. Pat McLaughlin, the number 2 hitter, returns the dish. Immediately fouls that one off. Good runner on first. First hit of the afternoon for Stoughton. Strike right down the heart of the plate and immediately up 0-2 in the count. McLaughlin struck out once and walked once this afternoon. Over his head for a ball. McLaughlin is a sophomore, and as I mentioned, this team is filled with underclassmen, only one senior, who was your pitcher, Andrew Better. Strong hit, and that will fall for Stoughton's second hit. Runner goes towards third. Is he going to be in time? He is in time. It's a double for Stoughton there. Pat McLaughlin registers the 2-bagger as Jasmel Vasquez is able to go to third. Again, not a lot of speed there, but got down just in time to be able to be safe. So this is the highest pressure situation that Baroncelli has encountered this afternoon, as he now has runners on second and third and one out. Drew Geeney, the second baseman, returns to the plate, looking for his first hit of the afternoon. Popped up into right field, and the question is whether, oh, no, that's going to fall, as Colin Costello had trouble being able to locate where the ball was, and Stoughton is able to register their first run of the afternoon as Geeney gets a single, and the runner on second is able to move towards third. Difficult one there for Costello, who was trying to find that ball in the air. Again, you're looking at a white ball in a very gray sky, and if you don't see it come off the bat, or if you lose it for a half a second, you are in a very, very difficult position, and I think that's what happened there for Costello. Oliver Ames still very much in control. The score is 8-1, top of the 6th. Strike 1 call is a good position to keep Baroncelli in, to be able to get himself out of the jam. Strike 2 called very quickly. 2 strikes hung up against Mason Lessa, the cleanup hitter for Stoughton. Strike 3 call for the 12th strikeout for A.J. Baroncelli this afternoon. The designated hitter, Jake McSweeney, now comes up to the plate. He has runners on the corners and 2 outs. Stoughton not able to put a hit on the board all afternoon, but has now gotten 3 here in the top of the 6th. McSweeney batting 5th for Stoughton this afternoon, and he's down in the count 0-1. One count to McSweeney. Again, Baroncelli, in his 6th inning of work, struck out 12. 2-1. Stoughton, again, 3-10 on the year, have not been able to register a win in the Hockomock League thus far. Fouled off 2-2. Of course, it's looking dim for Stoughton to be able to get that first league win this afternoon. Swings right through it for strike three, and that will end the top of the sixth inning for Stoughton as A.J. Baroncelli registers his 13th, that's right, folks, 13th strikeout of the afternoon, that one against Jake McSweeney. Well, we are halfway through the sixth inning, and the Tigers are up 8-1 as Stoughton was just able to claw away one of those runs against the Tigers. Well, it's time for our in-game summary, and this in-game summary is brought to you by Doug King Builders. With more than 50 years of experience designing and building over 1,500 homes and 50 commercial properties with over 400 apartments for rent. For more information, visit dakbuilders.com. Well, this game has been all Oliver Ames since the moment the first pitch was made. They scored their first run in the first, added 2 more in the second, 4 runs in the third inning, and then were able to also add another run in the sixth. All told, that is 8 runs for Oliver Ames. The real story this afternoon has to be A.J. Baroncelli, who once again has struck out 12 and has only given up 3 hits, has given up he's given up 1 earned run this afternoon, only walked 2. And again, I know he's playing against a very young team that's still trying to kind of find their way. Got a new coach, a young core, only 1 senior, but these are young men who have know how to play the game of baseball, and he's going up in the very same difficult weather conditions that the other team is, and AJ's just given us a sterling performance this afternoon. It's been great to be able to watch. Well, Oliver Ames, if they score 3 runs here in the bottom of the 6th, will end the game. And, well, while that may not necessarily be the goal, you're just trying to, once again, if you're one of the players here for Oliver Ames, as Coach Abar is keeping these starters in, want to make sure that they get some good at-bats, get some good experience to be able to improve their stats, get them on the base paths, and even give them some experience running here. Even though you're up by 7, you want to make sure that you still get some of that experience that will translate into some of the other games that are coming up through the end of the year. Now, again, we don't want to call this a win yet because the game is not over, but a win today will be very helpful for Oliver Ames in the Hockomock League standings as they are in a tie for 4th place in league play. And as I look at they are in a tie for 4th with Foxborough and actually own the tiebreaker against Foxborough. And then they're all knotted up at the top of the division with Canton, Mansfield, and North Attleboro all with 3 wins. Oliver Ames, if they win today, would give them their 4th win. And so they'd be trailing right behind the division leaders. Thomas Curzoli leads off to start the 6th inning for Oliver Ames. Two balls and no strikes. Kyle Bunker is still in for relief. 2 balls and 1 strike. And again, if you're Oliver Ames, you're not really looking necessarily at the division standings right now because there's still, as a coach just got hit by a foul ball there. Looks no worse for the wear. 2-2 count, but you don't want to be looking at the standings in the sense that you're trying to look ahead towards the playoffs or anything like that because you're looking at a 4-8 team, which could be a 5-8 team here in just a moment. But really what counts is league play, and if they can register a few more wins as they have some winnable games here at the end of the season, as Curzoli just gets plunked and he will take his base. Speaking of being no worse for the wear, he got hit right in the small of the back, and he will take first, and that will bring Costello back up. He's walked, he struck out, and had a single. That pass ball there will advance Curzoli to second base. So the force out has been removed, and there is a runner on second for Costello as Curzoli makes the heads-up play and runs to second as that ball slips by Jamal Vasquez, the catcher. Low once again for a ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Oliver Ames up by 7 here in the bottom of the 6th. Outside once again, 3 balls and 1 strike. Again, if Oliver Ames scores 3 in the bottom of the 6th, this game is over. Pitch touches the corner of the plate, or corner of the zone rather, for the first strike. That's going to hit the gap, and it may score a run as actually Cazzoli will stay at third. Cazzoli probably very wisely stays there at third, as perhaps on a regular afternoon that ball would have continued, and perhaps there would have been an opportunity to run towards home. However, that ground is very, very wet out there right now, and you're just not going to get a lot of play once it gets out there in the grass, not on a ground ball like that. So that brings runners to the corners. No outs. Drew Hall once again at bat for his 4th at bat of the game. He's 1 for 2. He's also walked this afternoon. Just nips the outside edge for strike 1. Oh and 1. No outs. Runners on the corners. Check swing from Drew Hall for ball 1. Again, Drew Hall actually represents the game-winning run here in the sense that he would end the game if he crosses the plate. Check swing, however, the ball was in the zone for strike 2. Drew, by his standards, a little bit quiet here today. Still, he's had a single on the afternoon. 1 and 2. Here's a pitch from Bunker. And that ball will go right past the outstretched glove of the third baseman and will score another Oliver Ames run. And that makes the score 9-1 as Oliver Ames takes back the run that was just taken away from them in the previous inning. We're up by 8, then up by 7, now up by 8 again. Baroncelli back at bat. 1 for 2 with a walk. By my count here, we have 13 hits for Oliver Ames in these 6 innings. 1 ball, 1 strike. Runners on first and second. Oliver Ames looking to finish off the game right here in the 6th. Here's pitch. Wild pitch will advance the runners. And again, the force out is taken off of the table. And your winning run is now at second base. 2 balls, 1 strike. 9-1, Oliver Ames lead. Again, with runners on second and third. No outs. A.J. Baroncelli, how great would it be to cap off the day that he's had to have the game-ending hit right here? There'd be something poetic about that. A.J. ready to receive the pitch from Bunker. Right there around the height of the brim of his cap, and that will be the 3rd ball. 3 balls and 1 strike. 2 runners in scoring position for Oliver Ames. Strike 2 for a full count to Baroncelli. Baroncelli has struck out a bunch of guys this afternoon. High and deep from Baroncelli, and Ben Newton, the left fielder, collects the catch, but that will be a sacrifice fly for the 10th run for Oliver Ames. So Baroncelli flies out but does get the RBI. Drew Hall does not advance from second, and so remains the game-winning run, who is standing on second base. Evan Zamilo, he's had a single and a triple this afternoon. And if he can get Drew Hall home, then we will call it an afternoon. And this could be it. That's a deep fly ball to center field, and the center fielder does not catch it. And here comes Drew Hall. He goes to third. Is he going to run towards home? Yes, he is, and he is going to cross the plate for the 11th run and the game-winning run, as the mercy rule is applied here at Frothingham Park. And Oliver Ames is going to win this game against the Stoughton Black Knights by a final score of 11-1. A.J. Baroncelli put on a clinic this afternoon, striking out, I believe, 14, giving up only 3 hits and 1 run despite the adverse conditions. Great job by all of the Tigers, but especially hats tipped to A.J. Baroncelli. The Tigers will be back in action on Wednesday afternoon, and they will be placing the Taunton Tigers. First pitch will be at 3:45. Check eastoncat.org or our YouTube and Facebook pages for broadcast updates and channel assignments. And also check the weather. We're not sure what it'll be like on Wednesday. Thanks to all of today's crew. This is Adam Rivero signing off from Worcester Field. Final score, Tigers win 11-1. See you on Wednesday on your home for Tigers baseball, Easton Community Access Television. Stay dry, folks.
ECAT's production of OA Sports are provided by RevT. We simplify technology for better. Easton Lions Club, Morris Insurance, Doug King Bills Incorporated. ECAT would like to thank all the sponsors for the support of producing OA Sports.